Hey guys, this is Miss Jacobson, and welcome to the first day of our mini unit on writing poems. This is day one of learning to write an imagery poem. So our lesson goal is we will be able to create our own poems using a mentor text, that means an example poem, as a guide. Before we get too much into the poetry, let's brainstorm. Where do poets find their ideas? How do poets write poetry? How do they decide what images or what figurative language or what themes they need to include? Before we get started, I want to show you a poem. This poem is called Green Shoot, and it says, "The sky a pale yellow this morning, like the skin of an onion. And here at the center, under layer upon layer of brooding and ferment, a poet, and cupped in his hands the green shoot of one word." A green shoot is like what you see on the screen. It's a plant that is growing. So it's describing the poet as holding a green shoot, a baby plant that's starting to grow in his hands. But the green shoot is one word of his poem. Poets look carefully at everyday objects to notice what's beautiful, what's unusual, or what's surprising. In the poem Green Shoot, the poet describes the sky as pale yellow, like the skin of an onion. Have you ever heard of a sky being yellow? Maybe at like dawn, right? But he doesn't describe it as like this big, beautiful color. He describes it as like the skin of an onion that you peel away and there's always more layers of the onion. He describes the green shoot that he's holding in his hand. Those are two small images, but sometimes the ideas for a poem come from a single detail or a single image. Poets can tie those small details or even big, powerful images to questions that those sights make them wonder about, or to important truths. So here's an example. This is a poem called My Heart Being Hungry by Edna St. Vincent Millay. And it says, "My heart being hungry feeds on food, the fat of heart despise." So my heart is hungry. My heart is longing for something. I need something to fill up my heart. My heart being hungry feeds on food, the fat of heart despise. Beauty where beauty never stood, and sweet where no sweet lies. I gather to my querulous need, having a growing heart to feed. So querulous means argumentative. So in that first verse, the poet's basically saying, my heart being hungry. So my heart needing something to fill it up feeds on food the fat of heart despise. So my heart is filling itself up because it's hungry with things that people who have hearts that are already filled might not appreciate. Beauty where beauty never stood, and sweet where no sweet lies. I see beauty in things that are beautiful, that aren't beautiful, and I think things are sweet that aren't sweet. I gather to my querulous need, so my argumentative heart, I gather those things that I think are beautiful that other people don't think are beautiful because my heart needs them. It may be when my heart is dull, having attained its girth. Girth is like its full size. So it may be when my heart is dull, having attained its girth. I will not find so beautiful the meager shapes of earth. So maybe when my heart is full, it's reached its full size, it's not hungry and starving anymore, I won't find these meager means like lacking quality, low quality. These low quality shapes of earth, these low quality details, maybe I won't find them beautiful anymore. Nor linger in the rain to mark the smell of tansy through the dark. So to mark means to notice, and a tansy is a type of flower. So she's Basically saying, she's focusing on some very small specific details. She focuses on standing in the rain in the dark and smelling the sweet scent of the yellow tansy flowers. And she talks about how she appreciates those things because her heart is hungry, even when other people wouldn't notice them or find them beautiful. But what I want you to pay attention to is that whole poem is based around two really small images: standing in the rain in the darkness, and the way that the yellow tansy flowers smell. So she took an image and she turned them into an important question or an important thought that it made her wonder about. Sometimes poets focus on big, powerful images like the ocean or a storm or a sunset. Sometimes they choose things they find meaningful even though you wouldn't normally think that much about them. Poets also might write poems about images that are meaningful to them as a person. So they might be inspired by a family photo or something that they saw in their everyday life or something from an emotional memory they have or even from something like a vacation that inspired them. Poets find these images to describe in their everyday life. So here's a really good example. And you know, I'm a dog lover, so I love this particular poem. Here's an example of describing with imagery something from your everyday life, and it's called Mongrel Heart by David Baker. Up the dog bounds to the window, baying like a basset, his doleful tearing sounds from the belly, as if mourning a dead king. And now he's howling like a beagle, yips, brays, gagging sounds, and scratching the sill painless. That's how much he's missed you, the two of you. Both of you, mother and daughter, my wife and child. All week he's curled up at my feet, warming himself and me, watching more TV. Or wandered the lonely rooms, my dog's shadow, who like a poodle now hops, amped up, wind up, maniac yo-yo, with matted curls and snot nose, smearing the panes, having heard another car like yours taking its grinding turn down our block, or a school bus, or a bird squawk. That's how much he's missed you. Good dog, companion dog, dog of all types, most excellent dog. I told you once and for all, we should never get. So this is a poem about a dog and the dog's behavior, but it's got so much great imagery. Like, you can picture this dog. He howls like a beagle and it describes all the noises he makes. He scratched all the paint off the windowsill because he keeps looking out the window to try and see if his mom and his sister are there. He's been curled up at his dad's feet watching TV. He bays like a basset hound, and it's a mournful, sad sound like he's mourning a dead king because his people aren't home. He's wandering the room and shadowing his dad because he doesn't know where the other people are. And he almost looks like a poodle because he's hopping around and he's wound up like a maniac yo-yo. The curls of his fur are matted, and he's got a snotty nose that he keeps rubbing on the window pane because he hears a car, or he hears a school bus, or he hears a bird squawking. And all of this because he misses his people, and he's such an excellent dog. Man, there's just so much to imagine. You can see that picture in your brain. Poets use figurative language. So similes, which compare to things with like or as, metaphors, which compare without like or as, personification, imagery, and they do it to help make a picture and to help make emotions in the reader's mind. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make another video for this, but we are going to do title and paraphrase the first two steps of TPcast for a new poem called Sea of Corinth. And I want you to pay attention to the imagery for that poem. How does this poet create a picture using their poem?